In this video, we're going to go through requirement number 1 in your Excel database project that we're going to go over in class. I'm making this video for you to be able to view it over and over again, as we will go over it really quickly in class. So first, let's take a look at the Excel project instructions. Requirement 1 has us testing the purchase order number sequence for out-of-sequence purchase order numbers. So let's say if it jumps from 1002 to 1005, missing 1003 and 1004. So we're going to use the books method first to do this, but the books method identifies a gap but doesn't actually identify the missing numbers. So I'm going to show you 3 other methods, and method number 3 actually has a and a B. We're going to use both an XLOOKUP and a VLOOKUP. So let's get going. So what I've already done is I have downloaded the file Excel project data. So I'm going to open it up. Click Enable Editing. Make sure that we're on the first tab, any COPOs, and then we're just going to begin the process. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can actually see what I'm doing and make my columns a little bit wider to make it easier for you to see. So what we want to do first is identify any breaks in the purchase order number sequence. Since I'm going to come back to this and show you a few other methods, I'm going to actually make a copy of this worksheet so I can come back to the original data. So to make a copy of the worksheet, I'm going to hold the tab name, any CO-POs with my left mouse button, hold the Control key, notice the little plus, and then just drag it to the right, and now I have a copy so I can work with the any COs, POs too, and not have to change the data on any CO, POs. So I'm going to change this one to book method. The sheet tab name to book method. Now, before we begin, we must make sure that we are sorted in PO number order in order for this method to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on any PO number. Remember, you do not want to select the list when you're sorting. It is a very bad practice because you may wind up sorting only part of the list. So I'm going to click any PO number. If I wanted to sort by date, I would sort by any date. If I wanted to, I would click on any date. If I wanted to sort by quantity, I would click on quantity. But I'm going to click on any PO number. And in order to sort, there's 2 ways. From the Home tab, I can go to the Editing group, Sort and Filter, and sort smallest to largest. Or I can go to the Data tab. In the Sort and Filter group, we will be using this later, and click Sort A to Z. So now I make sure that I am in PO number order. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another column between A and B. I can do this from the Home tab by clicking in column B and in making sure that I'm on the Home tab. In the Cells group, click Insert and then Insert Sheet Column. And notice now I have another column between B and C. Another way to do this is to just select column B. To select column B, I'm just going to click on the gray B. Now I'm going to right click and just choose Insert. Another way to insert another column. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an if statement to identify a gap. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an if statement in cell B3, and I'm going to ask if A3 is 1 above A2. If that is the case, I'm going to have it do nothing. Your book said no gap, but I think it would be easier just to have it do nothing if there isn't a gap, and to put the word gap if there is a gap. So I'm going to click in cell B3. I'm going to click the Formulas tab, Logical, and If. So in my logical test, I'm going to ask if A3 is equal to A2 plus 1. If that is the case, I want it to do nothing. So in order to have Excel do nothing, you just put in your open double quote and close double quote. So basically what I've told Excel to do is to insert nothing into the cell. Now, if that is not true, if it is false, I want it to put the word gap. So in order to put a word instead of a number, I have to use the double quotes. So I'm going to double quote GAP, close the double quote, and click OK. Now notice nothing was done here because 12853 is one bigger than 15852, excuse me. Now I'm going to double click the fill handle and notice 66 to 69 is a gap, 69 to 70 isn't a gap, but 71 is missing, 74 is missing, 78 is missing. So we've been able to identify the gaps, and using a filter we can actually find where all the gaps are. So in order to do a filter, I just click any cell within the list, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go to the Data tab. I'm going to click in the Sort and Filter group. I'm going to click Filter. You can also get there from Home, Sort and Filter, It does the same thing. So in the Gap column, I'm going to click the Select All, and I'm just going to click Gap and click OK. And now we actually have identified all of the gaps. Now the problem with this method, using the books method, is we know when there's a gap, but we'd have to go and manually find whether there's a gap of 1 or a gap of 2. It doesn't give us a list of the missing numbers. It just says, oh, there's a gap before this one. So I've actually thought of 3 different methods that we can use to identify the numbers that are missing. So now I'm going to go back to the Any COs POs tab, and I'm going to make 4 copies of this. But first I'm going to make the first copy. Another way I could copy is right click and choose Move or Copy. Click Create a Copy, and I'm going to move it right after this one. So actually it became first. So notice that I now have my Any CO POs 2. I think I'm going to move this after my Any COs POs. We're going to call this method 1. Method 2, which would be conditional formatting. So I will call this one conditional format, or con format for conditional format. Now, in using conditional format, I just want to identify the gaps in column A. So B, C, D, E, and F are just extra noise that I really don't need. And I've preserved the data on the first tab. So for right now, in the conditional format tab, I'm just going to delete columns B, C, D, E, and F. So in order to do that, I'm going to select the columns, click the gray B, hold down the left mouse button, and swipe out to D, E, F, C, D, E, and F, right click, and then just choose Delete. So now they're gone. Now once again, I'm going to make sure that these are actually in PO number sequence. So I'm going to click Any PO, Home tab, Editing Group, Sort and Filter, Sort Smallest to Largest. So now I'm going to go off to the side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the smallest PO number and the largest PO number. So obviously it's sorted. I know that 12852 is the smallest, and I would know that 13220 is the largest, but there are actually formulas that will do this for me. So I'm going to type first equals min, open the parentheses, click on cell A2, and now here's a nice little shortcut for a long list. If I hold down the Control key, I think this only works on a PC, but if I hold down Control, Shift, and then my down arrow on my cursor key, it will actually select the entire list. So now all I have to do is close the parentheses, hit Enter, and we can see that my smallest number is 12852. Now I'm going to do the same thing for max. Equals max. Open the parentheses, click on cell A2, Control Shift down, close the parentheses and hit Enter. And notice my smallest number is 12852. My largest is 13220. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a column B, and I'm going to call this sequence, because I'm going to do the entire sequence from 12852 to 13220 with no break. So to very easily do this, I'm going to type 12852 in cell B2. I'm going to click back on cell B2, making sure that I'm on the Home tab. In the Editing group, I'm going to click the Fill icon. You may just see the down arrow. I have my Excel maximized on a large monitor. But click the Fill, and I'm going to do Fill Series. I always mess this up. Make sure your series is in the column, otherwise it's going to go across row 2. I'm going to go in the column. My step value is 1, and my stop value is going to be the highest number, 13220. And I click OK. And now I've entered the sequence without a break from 12852 down to 13220. Now, since I'm going to need this for methods 2, 3A, 3B, and method 4, before I move on to the other methods, I'm going to delete column D, my minimum and maximum. I don't need them anymore. And I'm going to copy this one 3 more times so I can use the data over and over again. So I'm going to select column D, right-click, and delete. And now I'm going to have first a conditional formatting method. I'm going to copy my conditional formatting worksheet. Remember, hold down the Control, hold down the worksheet. With your left mouse button, hit the Control key and drag it out to the right. This one I will call XLOOKUP. I'm going to copy XLOOKUP one more time. I'm going to hold down my, with my left mouse button, hold down my Control key and drag it out to the right. This one I will call VLOOKUP. And the last one we're going to use, you may not have on your laptop, is a brand new command in Excel called unique. So one last time, I'm going to hold down the VLOOKUP, Control key, drag it to the right, and this one I will call unique. All right, so now I'm going to click on the Conditional Formatting tab, and let's use Conditional Formatting to find the numbers that are different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the range A2 down to B, as far down as it goes. So go down the entire list, and making sure I'm on the Home tab. In the Styles group, I'm going to go to Conditional Formatting, highlight cells, rules, and duplicate values. So I'm going to tell Excel that instead of to format cells that contain duplicate values, I'm going to tell it to format cells that contain unique values. And I'm going to do light red fill with dark red text is okay, but realize that you can choose different ones, or you can choose your own custom format if that's what you want. But I'm going to accept the default of light red fill with dark text, and I'm going to click OK. So now what it's done is it's highlighted all of the numbers in column B that actually do not appear in column A. So we see our first break in the sequence, 12866 to 12869, 867 and 868 is missing. 12870 to 872, 871 is missing. We're missing a whole bunch here, it looks like. 12878. So 12877 all the way up to 12889. So there's a big block over there that's missing. So now we've highlighted everything in column B that does not appear in column A. Now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to sort by color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click anywhere within the list, column B. I'm going to go to my data. Now what I'm going to do is instead of clicking A to Z or Z to A, I'm going to click the data tab. Instead of clicking the A to Z or Z to A, I'm going to click the sort button. And notice I'm going to sort, instead of by PO number, I'm going to sort by sequence. Instead of sorting on cell values, I'm going to sort on cell color. And the order, instead of no cell color, we're going to put all of the pink ones on top. And I'm going to click OK. And now notice we have all on top all of the missing sequence. And then down below, all of the numbers that match up. So now we have method number 1 completed using conditional formatting to locate all of our missing numbers. So right now all of our missing PO numbers are highlighted in red, and we can copy this list and paste it someplace else. Now let's move on to method number 2. Method number 2 is to use XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP and VLOOKUP are very similar. With XLOOKUP, what's going to happen is XLOOKUP requires a lookup vector and a result vector. So what I'm going to have to do is with XLOOKUP, I'm going to have to copy column A. Now, the benefit of using XLOOKUP as opposed to VLOOKUP is with XLOOKUP, I can tell the computer what to do if it's not found. So using XLOOKUP, I'm going to have to insert a column between A and B. So I'm going to click on B, right click, and click the insert. Now I'm just going to select column A, home, copy, click cell B1, and click paste. So now I have a perfect copy of column A. Once again, it's just the way the XLOOKUP works. With the VLOOKUP, I can specify one column, but with the XLOOKUP, I need a lookup column and a result column. So to get rid of the marquee, I'm just going to click the escape key, excuse me. So now in column D, I'm going to put in my XLOOKUP, and for this one, I'm going to ask if it's found. And if it's not found, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it insert the words not found. So now in cell D2, I'm going to do my XLOOKUP. So in order to do my XLOOKUP, I'm going to click the Formula tabs. I'm going to go into Lookup and Reference, and I'm going to do XLOOKUP. If you don't see XLOOKUP, it means that you're using a little older version of Excel, although I think most of the versions of Excel now should have XLOOKUP. So I'm going to click on XLOOKUP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it check every number in the sequence, and I'm going to ask if it's somewhere in columns A and B. If it is in column A and B, it's just going to do nothing. But if, it will insert the number, but if it is missing, I'll tell it to insert the not found. So in my lookup value, I'm going to click cell C2. I don't want that with the dollar signs because I wanted to check each one. So I'm going to have it look it up in column A. So I'm going to click on cell A2, Control Shift down, and very important, that one needs the dollar signs because I'm going to be copying that one down. So my lookup array is column A. My return array is column B. So I'm going to have it look up the number from column C, find it in column A, and return the same number in column B. So I'm going to click on cell B2, Control Shift down, and also very important, F4, because I want to make sure that it's always looking in the same array. So what happens is, if it does find it in columns A and B, it will put in the number, but notice how it has if not found. So in if not found, I'm going to do my double quote, and I'm going to type not found, and then close up the double quotes. The match mode is how it searches, and then there's a search mode. So those are optional, so I'm just going to click OK. And once again, what's going to happen is, if it finds the number, it will write the number, but if it doesn't find the number, it will write not found. So now, very easily, I can click any cell within the list. I can go to the Data tab, click the filter icon, and filter column D. Click the down arrow in column D. Click the select all to unselect everything. Scroll to the bottom and just select the not found. So now I can show all of the not found with a filtered list. When we use the VLOOKUP, I'll actually show you too how to extract the list as opposed to using the filter. So now we've used two methods to find all of the sequence numbers. So here are all of our numbers right over here that have not been found, that are not within the sequence. Let's move on to method number 2, or actually, I'm sorry, method number 3 now, which is going to be a VLOOKUP. So now I'm going to click on the VLOOKUP tab. The advantage of the VLOOKUP is I could actually use one column. I can say, look at it for column A and return column A. The disadvantage of using the VLOOKUP is I can't tell it what to do if it's not found, so it's going to return an error. So after I put in the VLOOKUP, before I copy it down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it within a formula called if error. So with an if error formula, instead of getting an error message, you can tell Excel to put the number 0 or to put any kind of keyword or any number or whatever you want it to do, because you can't filter on errors. So I could filter on not found, I could filter on the number 0, I could filter on the word true or false, but I cannot filter on an error. So let's take a look now with our VLOOKUP, and let's find the numbers that are out of sequence. So once again, I'm just going to type found over here and a question mark. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the VLOOKUP using the Formulas tab, and then I'm going to enclose it in an if error. The thing is that if you stack the formulas, we can type it in, but you won't see all of the different pieces. So I'm going to click on C2, Formulas, Lookup and Reference, and now I'm going to use VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is very valued by employers. So I'm going to tell Excel to look up B2, look up each number in the sequence one by one. So I want to make sure that I don't use a dollar sign, otherwise I'm just going to look up the same number over and over again. This time my table array is going to be A2 all the way down to the last number. I could have used the Control Shift down, I forgot. So I have to scroll all the way down now. Notice the list is long, so it takes a while. And make sure that you use the F4. You have to lock it down because we are copying this formula. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to return the number in column 1 because there's only one column. So what's going to happen is if it finds the number in column A, it will print that number. But there's no if not found. Now what's very important in using a VLOOKUP is to put in the range lookup the word false. Super important, because a VLOOKUP is lazy. An XLOOKUP is not, a VLOOKUP is lazy. So it'll find a close match instead of an exact match. So the way I explain it when I teach Excel is, let's say you got a 92 in my class, and I was using a VLOOKUP to set your grade. Without the false, Excel would get to 80 and say, you know what, 92 is close enough to 80, I'll give that student a B. With the false, it would say, no, even though you found a close match, go on and keep looking and see if you find a closer match. In that case, you would get an A. So I am now going to click OK, but this formula will not work because if I copy it down, what I'm going to do is get errors on the missing sequence. So what I'm going to do is within the VLOOKUP, I'm going to double click this cell in order to edit the formula. Within the VLOOKUP, I'm going to type in a formula, if error, and open up the parentheses. So now I have first the VLOOKUP is going to be the first argument in my if error, which is the value, and I'm going to type a comma. So now notice I'm on the value if error. Now it becomes easier to see everything as we're typing it up. So notice my VLOOKUP has now been completed, but my if error is now opened, and you can see that because of the if error down below. So value if error, open the double quotes, not found, close the double quotes, and then close up the if error function. So notice we have to close up the VLOOKUP function where the parentheses are in red, and we also have to close up the if error function where the parentheses are in black. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to click on cell C2. I'm going to double click the fill handle, and now notice I should have exactly the same list that I did before. Now with this one, I'm going to show you the advanced filter. With the advanced filter, we can extract, as opposed to just filter the list in place, we can extract the records that are not found. So in cell F1 off to the side, I'm going to type the column header that I'm interested in, found, and a question mark. It has to be typed exactly. So you may want to just copy this one and paste it here so it's copied exactly. Now under the column header, I want to type the criteria that I want to extract. So I want to extract all the cells in the found column that say not found. I wanted to ignore it if there's a number, but I want to extract all of the not found. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click any cell within my list. I'm going to go to the Data tab. In the Sort and Filter group, I'm going to click on the Advanced Filter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Copy to another location. Now I don't want column A. What I want is I want the missing numbers. So my list range, instead of A1 to C370, I'm just going to choose B1 to C370. So what it'll do is it will only show me, otherwise I would get, if I did A1 to C370, for example on line 17, I would get 12869, 12867, and then not found. I only want the 12867 not found. I only wanted to return what's in column B to C. So my list range, I'm going to do B1 to C370. My criteria range, I'm going to select the range F1 to F2, so the column header, and I want not found. Unfortunately, copy to can only be copied to the current sheet, so I'm going to click in copy to, and I'm just going to click in cell F4, and now I'm going to click OK, and now I've extracted all of the numbers that have not been found onto a separate list that I can copy and paste or cut or do whatever I want with that. Okay, this is a long video. Now we're going to use the last method. the last method is the unique command. So unique command is very new in Excel, and it's a dynamic range command, which means that when you hit enter, the answer actually spills into more than one cell. So the easiest way to use the unique command is to use it with one column. If we use it in two columns, there's a lot of things that we have to do to get it to work out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the range B2 all the way down to the bottom. So to do that easily, I'm going to click cell B2, Control Shift down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that range. So I'm going to click the cut icon on the Home tab. And now I'm going to paste it below the last entry in column A. So I'm going to scroll down all the way to the bottom of the list. I'm going to click in cell A293. I have to make sure that there's no break. And now I'm going to click Paste. So now I have all my numbers and all of my sequence numbers in column A. I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top. And now in column B, I'm going to use the unique command. So I'll find out all my unique numbers. Because without putting some arguments in, the unique is just going to show us every number that's listed at least once, but listed one time. So if it's listed 3 times or 4 times, it would list it only once. We want only the numbers that are listed exactly once. So I'm going to click in cell B2. I'm going to click Formulas. I'm not sure where this is, so I'm going to click the Insert function, and I'm going to type unique and hit enter. So I found my unique, and I'm going to click OK. So unique, my array is going to be A2. This one is really long. So I'm going to click A2, Control Shift down all the way to the bottom. This goes to 666 rows. By column is a logical value. So we don't want to find the unique one by columns. We actually wanted to compare the rows to each other. So false or omitted. We don't want it to compare columns because it's only one column. So in by column, we're going to put false. But in exactly once again, we want to put true in exactly once. So return only those ones that appear exactly once. So I'm going to click OK. Now once I type in the true exactly once, see, notice exactly once is a logical value, true. Return all distinct rows, so if it's false or omitted, basically it would just remove the duplicates. So now what I'm going to do is before I click OK, I'm going to scroll all the way up to show you what's going to happen. And notice I click OK, and now we have a list of all of those missing numbers. So once again, notice 12867 is going to be the first one missing. So we go down, 866, 867, 868 is missing, 871 is missing. So it does look like it did the correct thing. The only thing is, I want you to notice that as we move down, notice how the formulas are in gray, because the only formula that's actually entered is here. We've actually extracted it to an array. So if we wanted to do anything with this list, what we'd have to do is we'd have to select this range. I should have used my Control Shift down. Notice what a pain it is when I don't do it. Select the column B, all the numbers. Go home. Hit the copy icon. Now go someplace else. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click paste, but under paste special, I'm going to paste the values. So what it does is it pastes the results of a formula instead of the formula itself. So when I paste values, I'm just going to get all the numbers. So notice I get the list, the same exact list of all of the missing numbers. So I hope you enjoyed my video that showed you how to find the missing numbers in the sequence actually using 5 different methods if you count the XLOOKUP and the VLOOKUP as different methods, because first we use the books method of the if statement, conditional formatting, XLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, and the unique function.